family historian, so she says she was primed to become a genealogist. After she earned her bachelor's degree from Columbia College, she began to work her own genealogy as a hobby. This 30-year hobby eventually led her to a leader role with WikiTree, where she currently leads the DNA Innovators Project and the United Empire Loyalist Project. She also leads the Templeton and McElmoy name studies and the mitoYDNA project. Work with WikiTree led to Mags starting Grandma's Genes in 2016. Mags is an international genetic genealogy lecturer, blogger, and social media maven. She serves as admin for Facebook groups, including the ISOGG Facebook group. She's a former member of the Canadian Casualty Identification Team. Through her nonprofit work with mitoYDNA.org, Mags and other genetic genealogists are providing a free and accessible Y-DNA and mtDNA database for the genealogy community doing DNA right. Mags?
Gloria, thank you so much. It's really nice to be able to talk to Ottawa branch because it's home. I'm here in Ottawa and you guys, and so I recognize everybody's names. I recognize all your faces, and it's like I'm hanging out and we're at the coffee shop having a chat about something that is very important to me, and also very important to you because you gave us an incredibly wonderful grant this year, which has helped us to keep the lights on, as it were, considering that we are a nonprofit organization. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't say thank you enough. And also thank you for letting me come and share this passion with you. So mitoYDNA.org. Like I said, I have a gazillion slides, and I was going to add more slides, and I realized that I have too many slides. So if I start to run over and you people want me to be quiet, you need to say so. Kim, just shut me off and we'll go on from there. I do ask that if you are hanging out with your video on, if you would turn it off because it's a bit distracting. That would be very much so appreciated. So mitoYDNA.org. DNA. If you don't know a lot about DNA, DNA is the thread of the fabric that makes up who we are. It's the tint of our iris, it's the gray of our hair, it's the knock of our knees. It is absolutely the recipe of ourselves. And DNA can also be the roadmap to our ancestry. And here is my roadmap. You can see that I have a cute little picture of my dad. I've got a picture of my mother up, my grandparents. I've got other pictures, but I don't have them up. But the most important thing to take from this is you see there's a lot of DNA check marks, meaning that I've done the due diligence to find other testers who match me, who also have a good genealogy and traditional work that they've done, and I've been able to confirm DNA for a lot of my family. I've actually, in the past week, done a lot more DNA confirmations, and I can probably confirm every one of my ancestors up through the generation that you see here. So DNA can be this roadmap for us as we confirm our traditional genealogy work. Really quickly, mitoYDNA.org is about Y and mitochondrial DNA, and I'll give you a really quick synopsis of what they are and the inheritance patterns. This is a good map by Greg Clark, who is a WikiTreeer who's also a part of the mitoYDNA team. We're so glad to have him, and a fellow Ontarian. He has done this incredible chart from WikiTree for mitoYDNA and showing the inheritance pattern that can take you back through your patrilineal line back for thousands of years. And the patrilineal line is your father's 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 line. It is not the paternal side of your family, because the paternal side of your family would include men and women that just happen to be on your father's side. So patrilineal is only the father's 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 direct line. And that inheritance, if you need to see it in a pedigree chart, we'll add a little DNA to our fellow there and show how that is inherited through the generations from father to son to father to son. Mitochondrial DNA is for both men and women, and that inheritance pattern goes for the direct matrilineal line, again, not the maternal side, but the matrilineal line back for men and women for generations, thousands of years, and it is the direct line of mothers. I can again give you a little graphic to show you how. We'll add a little DNA to the mama figure here, and we'll see how she passes her DNA down to both her sons and her daughters. But only her daughters can pass down that DNA to her sons and daughters. And again, the daughters can only pass that DNA down to their offspring. So it's the direct line of mother to mother to mother to mother. Finding somebody who matches your DNA, who knows their genealogy, can tell you about your genealogy. And that's going back again to that roadmap of my ancestry. If I couldn't find other people who had DNA that matched me, that also knew about their genealogy, that could show me their well-sourced traditional genealogy, I wouldn't have been able to do all of those DNA confirmed marks. So way back when, in the dark ages of genetic genealogy, in the time of innocence and splendor of the internet, we used to have companion sites that were free called mitoSearch and ySearch. These two sites were very important to my very first DNA test. I did a mitochondrial DNA test, and the site mitoSearch allowed me to do research on my mitochondrial line. It also allowed me to do research into my Y line that confirmed to me that my surname, Gaulden, actually was rooted in the word Gaulden. It's a very rare name. We are unicorns. We don't match anybody else. No Gaulden's match us. And ySearch was able to help me with that. But, and this is where the music goes, dum dum dum. The dastardly deeds of a few bad actors caused governments to take bigger steps to protect our privacy. And I am, of course, speaking of the General Data Protection requirement or regulation in the UK that caused everybody to tighten up how we do our privacy. And because of that, these two wonderful sites, mitoSearch and ySearch, disappeared. When they were getting ready to disappear, I approached Bennett Greenspan, the company FTDNA were the ones who ran ySearch and mitoSearch, and I approached him about purchasing the ySearch and mitoSearch data from him with the impetus to create a database that was managed by a nonprofit corporation. He declined. So immediately, as soon as I walked out of the meeting with Bennett Greenspan, I was met with Peter Roberts, and we started gathering together. I started gathering together a group of collaborative genetic genealogists to create a new Y and mitochondrial DNA database, which is mitoYDNA.org. And like I said, it's a Y and mitochondrial DNA database that's free and accessible and crowdsourced. We are volunteers, all of us, and so we are working together as a team to build this. And who owns mitoYDNA.org? Well, it's a nonprofit corporation that is absolutely a 501c3 nonprofit company. Behind the design, implementation, and ongoing upgrade and maintenance of mitoYDNA.org, all of our work, all of the things that we do are managed and overseen by a board. And that is mitoYDNA Limited. And this is a group of collaborative genetic genealogists and genealogists who believe that we can have access to a Y and DNA and a mitochondrial DNA database, which includes Y and mitochondrial DNA testing from all available companies of the past, the present, and those of the future. And here is what our team looks like today. Some of these people have been on from the very beginning. Peter Roberts, Rob Worth, and Gail French, and Johnny Pearl were among the first, and then Jamie Nelson. We've got Kevin Borland with Borland Genetics, Leanne Kruger, another fine Canadian, and then Greg Clark and Michelle Jones round out the team. So those are the people, but you can join us if you'd like to. We would love to have more help. And mitoYDNA is based on the principles of genealogical collaboration and continues to work to keep this database straightforward, current, expanding, and free. And with the help of groups like OGS Ottawa, we're able to do that. And yeah, it's free. So let's take a little bit closer look at what mitoYDNA actually is at the site. And right off the bat, on the very front page of the site, you can see that we have a navigation bar. And that navigation bar is at the top of every single page. And when you are registered and log in, this is the page you will see with home, which will take you back to the home page, and about page, where you can find out about the team, about sponsors. You can read our privacy terms of service from there. There's a frequently asked questions and help menu that will take you to help, and then kits and tools, which we'll discuss more. You can find out news and information, latest updates, or latest information that we have about the site. You can grab the Chrome extension. We have a Chrome extension to grab the mitochondrial DNA file from your testing company to be able to upload. And it's right there on the front of the site. You can also join our user community by joining our Facebook group or following us on Twitter and being involved. You can also donate to support the database, just like OGS Ottawa did. We have a little donate button, and one of the things that I have said from the very beginning of this is if everybody who wanted to upload a kit to mitoYDNA.org gave $2 a month or $1 a month, we would be able to keep the lights on and keep the database running. We've also done a lot of really good things about getting free stuff. We have some of our server space, not all of it, donated to us every year by Microsoft. We've also gone about trying to find other ways to do things where we are actually getting people to donate to us. And a part of that is we have a mitoYDNA gear shop where not only can you buy mitoYDNA gear, you can also buy Grandma's Jeans gear. And the sales of that gear go to helping to support mitoYDNA. We also have an Amazon Smile campaign, which is if you buy something from Amazon, you can earmark a donation from Amazon, not a part of your purchase, but a donation from Amazon on top of that, that will go to mitoYDNA. We also have help videos to help out that you can find there on that front page. Where do you go to get started with mitoYDNA.org? Well, you go to www.mitoYDNA.org. And the very first thing you need to do is find that menu navigation bar and check out our help information so you know exactly what we're talking about, what we're about. We have an introduction, and we also have a drop-down menu that gives you more information about where do you start, what do you do when you're entering information into fields. We have help on our tools. We have external references, people who have written blogs about us so that you can go and find out information. Diane Southard has a lot of really great information about mitoYDNA.org. You can see the statistics, and you can also check out the help information. The best place to go is the Introduction to mitoYDNA, where we explain some of the specifics about the site. And if you want to upload autosomal DNA anywhere, we have a link for you to go to GEDmatch to do that. We do not take autosomal DNA files, and we have that front and center so people can find that very quickly. You can also see a list of all of the types of tests that we take, and we'll run through that a little bit more detail here in just a minute. Family tree DNA. Ancestry. Now you're looking at Ancestry and you're thinking, wait, Ancestry is an autosomal DNA testing company. It is. In the past, they offered a Y and mitochondrial DNA test as well. Now, if you are an older version user of Ancestry, you can find out if you have a Y or mitochondrial DNA test with them by clicking on your DNA tab, and a drop down will show up and it will say that you have mitochondrial or Y DNA that you'll be able to get there. We also take Y-Seq information. That is another Y and mitochondrial DNA testing company that is currently offering that tests. We take uploads of Sorensen information. So if you got a Sorensen test and you have your results sheets from that, you can manually upload the Sorensen data. When we have quite a few people who are really excited about that, because the Sorensen data is no longer available. It's owned by Ancestry, and Ancestry is not releasing it or allowing any kind of data manipulation other than what they are using to identify origins information in their own database. You can upload from GeneBase, Oxford Ancestors, National Geographic 1.0, and some other tests as well. You'll find good help information if you need it, and you'll also be able to get specific information about our next big thing, as well as reading about the videos and what we have in our YouTube channel. Starting out, you need to register. So on the right hand top corner of every screen, you'll see a button if you are not registered already that allows you to register. Click on that and fill in the information. If you need help other than reading the information, make sure you read the Terms of Service and Privacy Statement. That's very, very important to us. If you need help with your password, we have extra password help that shows exactly how to create a password. When we first started, a lot of people didn't understand why they couldn't figure out the password, so we added this information in so people would know that we wanted them to be extra secure. When you have finished reading the Terms of Service and Privacy, you have to click that you've read it, and then you have to click another checkbox. We really, really, really want you to read the Terms of Service and Privacy Policy before you register for the site, because it covers all of it, everything. So where do you start after that? You could go to the Frequently Asked Questions page and locate information that you might need to know, which is what we process, specifically Y and mitochondrial DNA, that we don't do autosomal. We also go into specifics about the fact that we do short tandem repeat or STR marker values that represent your haplotype. We do not currently process SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphisms. However, that is something that we will be doing in the future. And to download your results, all you need to do is find that Frequently Asked Questions and Help button and find the testing company where your results reside. And you want to click on the link in the table, as in the Family Tree DNA link, which will take you to a help file that explains exactly what you are going to get from Family Tree DNA and how to find it. There's also a manual entry help that you can grab for each one of the specific types of files that you might want to upload. And this is the actual YDNA manual entry page that shows that you can actually enter in values for each specific manual entry field. For mitochondrial DNA, we do have that very helpful mitoYDNA Chrome extension that helps with people to be able to upload their information regarding the mitoYDNA. We don't currently take FASTA files. We're going to probably do that in the future. You grab that mitochondrial DNA file Chrome extension, go to your FTDNA account, you click on Mutations, and you click on the RCRS values, and you will see that there is a download mitoYDNA file that will appear on your Family Tree DNA screen, and click on that, and it'll save to your computer. If you need to upload information manually, we have that ability as well, and you just fill in the information for HVR1, HVR2 in your coding regions and click create. And yeah, it's still free. Still free. So once you get your information uploaded, after you've either created a profile by doing it manually, or you've created a profile using a Chrome extension, or uploading a CVS file from your, or CSV file from your testing company, click on kits to be able to see the information. You can create a new kit by clicking on the create new kit button. You're going to want to be able to check off whether or not to allow law enforcement. Now, if you opt into law enforcement sharing on mitoYDNA.org, the law enforcement portal is a completely different way for law enforcement to enter our website, and they will only be able to view matches and information for kits that allow law enforcement, so that it's only opt-in. You can also opt in for medical research. This would be for companies that are researching mitochondrial diseases and how they are inherited or run families, or Huntington's, or bipolar, or whatever. Again, medical researchers have a completely different portal access into the system, and all medical research is anonymized, so that not even a name will appear in that. We also allow academic research, and that's for people at universities, researchers who may be looking at ancient DNA or working on papers and stuff. Again, that information is shared anonymously for that. There's a new project going on called the Million Mito Project, and we're hoping that they will also begin to use our data. You have to fill in some of the most important information for any kind of DNA testing is being able to collaborate. And collaborating really starts with identifying where people can find out about your tests. So entering your earliest known ancestor information is incredibly important, and each kit has that information associated with. Also enter in your haplogroup. Now, this is user reported, and we do have quite a few people on the site who have entered in incorrect or inaccurate haplogroup information, and unfortunately we don't grab that information automatically from the testing company. So if you're entering that in, make sure you enter in the correct information. Once you've done that, you can also add additional information about your earliest known ancestor, like she's marrying June Smith, 1955, Kansas City, Missouri, which also helps researchers identify what you've got going on in your earliest known ancestor information. You choose the file, whether you're going to enter it manually or do a CSV file, or from the file you got from the Chrome extension, and you just click on that create button. And once you've got it created, you can go to either the edit yDNA or delete, or the edit mitochondrial DNA or delete buttons, links beside your name in your kits list. You can see that I've got my dad's kit up. I have my kit up. I've got some cousins listed. I have quite a few people actually uploaded. And we'll take a look at some of this. First off, the edit button will take you back to all of the information that you entered in for your kit. So I could go back in and change my dad's first name, or change his birth, or I can opt out of law enforcement. I can unclick that and not allow law enforcement portal to be able to see my kits. I could also go through and change, say, the earliest known ancestor's death date. Maybe I had that wrong, but I can also make sure that I have it right. I can also add an external link to a family tree, to a public family tree at Ancestry. I could link off, I've done this for this particular one, to WikiTree, because WikiTree is my program that I use. You can have a public tree in Genie. You can click off to family search public trees, but that's really important, again, to be able to identify your pedigree and let people see how they might be related to you as it relates to a specific kit. And this actually is the widget that this link points to on Wikitree, and you can see that I've got the pedigree chart of John Gaulden, which is that goes down to my grandfather here, Fletcher Gaulden. So that's really important to have. And again, you can see that you could change the user notes as well. If you click on the yDNA link of a kit, a yDNA kit, it will take you to the actual kit information where you can see my dad's name, his haplogroup, and you can see his mitoYDNA ID, which it could be important. And you can see that he has right now 37 markers. I have an order in for him to be upgraded as we speak because they were great sales over Father's Day. You can also see each one of the markers listed. For mitochondrial DNA, since coding regions have medical information in it, if you are looking as the kit owner, you would be able to see those coding regions. But as a public person, when you go to the public view of a kit, you will not be able to see that. But you will be able to see my haplogroup and my mitoYDNA as well. For the Y kit, in the kit view, you can also see that we have some extra fun stuff going on with some of the yellow boxes here. These are kit-specific tools that are available. For the SNP track, we have a great integration with Scaled Innovation, and you can see the actual path that my father's DNA took as it traveled out of Africa, going on the current theory of that. And this ends up in the Mesolithic here in the Caucasus, I believe. There we go. You can also see that we continuing that integration with Scaled Innovation. You can see the SNP age for my father's haplogroup, which is RM269. Obviously, there's a lot more up here I didn't include, but you can also see other people who have tested that have that have their countries identified as well. You can see the age of the last time that it mutated, about 13,000 years ago in 1100 BC. So that's pretty cool. You can also go to a haplogroup predictor. Now I know my dad is RM269, which is the Western modal, European modal haplotype. But with our integration with YSeq, we have been able to incorporate using their haplogroup predictor to find out that my father has a 74.7% probability of being R1b U106 as a downstream subclade, which I hope to be finding out soon. I can verify that information for this haplogroup predictor. But having a haplogroup predictor, it takes your Y37 test or your Y67 or your 111 test, and it actually looks at your markers and predicts what a downstream subclade might be for you without having to get the higher level testing. And in this case, it gives a percentage of what the confidence is, and it's an 81% or 81 score and a 74% confidence of that. For mitochondrial DNA in our kit view, we have the same tracker and the same SNP age ability that you can use for mitochondrial DNA as well. I'm just not going to show that to you again. You can also just delete your kit. If you have a kit and you've decided that you don't want to have it available and accessible, you can just remove it. But if you delete a kit, it's gone. And if you want to put it back, you'll have to actually go through all the steps to put it back. And yeah, it's still free, 100% free. Take a look at our tools and a quick tour for you. And again, you go back up to that menu, navigation menu at the top of every page, and you click on tools, and it will take you to our tools page. I don't think I have a screen here showing all of the tools. And there are tools being worked on currently that are going to add so many more things. We wanted to make ourselves as good as what was available before with mitoSearch and ySearch, but we also intended on making it better, and we already have with some of the tools, and some of the tools that developers are just like creating and giving to us and saying, yeah, we believe in having free Y mitochondrial DNA database. So you can just use the tools to look up. Remember I said my kit number was listed on my view page, or my view kit, my kits page? Then you could take my mitochondrial DNA ID and you could look up information about me. And this also, in one of the other integrations that we have going on, you'll see where that also can come in handy. So you enter a Y-DNA or a mitochondrial DNA, mitoYDNA.org kit ID, and you'll be taken to that kit to view. And here we have my dad with his kit ID, taking a look at his stuff. And it'll also give you the opportunity to see all of his earliest known ancestor information, as well as using any of the kit-specific tools to find out more about my dad. And for mitochondrial DNA, you can click on that, add mine in, and it'll show you my information. And again, the coding region information is private. Now, if I wanted to share my coding region differences with somebody else who is a user at mitoYDNA.org, I can do that. But just for privacy, we don't have that displayed as public. And again, it'll give you the information for all of the, this actually is showing MitoKit, but it's actually my dad's kit, but it gives you information on that. We can also do comparisons for Y-DNA and mitochondrial DNA. You can see you can compare. 23 isn't even the biggest number. If you had 23 kits to compare, you could add in a bunch of kit numbers and run those comparisons. I just did 3, and these happen to be Royals from France and Oldenburg, Germany. One of these is Tsar Nicholas, and the other is Richard III, I think. You can see not a lot of I'm not royal. You can also use our tools to look for matches. So you just put in your kit ID, and you can actually adjust the slider there to do 0 differences or 3 differences or up to 10 differences. You can identify how many markers you want to compare when you're looking for those matches, and again, it'll give you a good result showing people that actually do are related to me. You can see the changes in the bright yellow here. That's Johnny Pearl's fun addition to our site. Any kind of changes are highlighted in yellow. And the same thing with mitochondrial DNA. You can use the slider to change the number of differences you want to look at. You can also identify that you want to look at HVR1 or HVR2 or all 3, and get a list of people that you might be related to for mitochondrial DNA. And these are all of my matches. Unfortunately for me, I have a heteroplasmy, which means that I might not even match my own mother, depending on whether or not she has that heteroplasmy as well. I have not gone on to get my sister or brother to test to see if they have the heteroplasmy, but it would be interesting to find out. But neither here nor there, I have still got some fairly close matches. I will never have a 0 match. For comparisons, when you're on that screen, you can click on the ID there and see the view page for kits and see the information. Again, show you that it is private, and show you all the earliest known ancestor stuff. So my question to you is, what kind of kits what kind of tools would you like to see added to mitoYDNA.org? And we ask this all the time, and amazingly, people just like you say, hey, this is an idea I had about Y-DNA or mitochondrial DNA. I'd like to see this. Somebody said that to us about clustering, and yeah, It's free, and we have that on our site. You can do Y and mitochondrial DNA clustering. Integrations. We have integrations with other sites, as in the family tree links, and this one is specifically to, this shows a view of my public family tree at Ancestry that's viewable. DNA Painter has integrated Y and mitochondrial DNA into its information in DNA Painter, and you can see that if I do a blow up here, that you enter in your Y or your mitochondrial DNA kit number from mitoYDNA, and you can immediately see that information. And it's a very easy process to do. You just add that information to edit it. Kevin Borland has also acknowledged us with our haplogroup prediction tool with our script from mitoYDNA.org at Borland Genetics. And Wikitree. Wikitree probably has the most integrated integration with us. As you can see, if you go to an ancestor's profile at Wikitree, you get a list of DNA testers that appear to the right side of a profile. And in this one, this is for Dr. William W. Tharp, and you can see he's got quite a few Y-DNA testers here on his page. You would see this as well if it was a mitochondrial DNA tester, if there were lots of mitochondrial DNA testers. And specifically, you can take that information and you can actually click on the mitoYDNA information or the ID at Wikitree and be shown the Y-DNA kit view page at mitoYDNA.org and see all of the earliest known ancestor information. You can also use the tools and see the marker values. You can compare kits directly from Wikitree. You have to be signed in and registered at mitoY to be able to do it, but you can actually compare kits. So a little dialog will come up and you can compare as many kits as you'd like by clicking on the compare button with each one of these DNA testers, and just add them and add them until you have a whole list of people that you want to compare, and you can click on that button compare at Wikitree and have it give you this beautiful representation of how these people are related. And you can see that there's only one little bit of highlight there that Johnny Pearl has put in. So it's pretty cool, the integrations that we have with other places and other companies. And yeah, it's still free to use. It's still free. And it's completely community supported. And like I said, having help from people like Ottawa branch and others is just incredible to, it's incredible to have. But how can you help beyond that? Join our discussion. Join the mitoYDNA user group on Facebook and join in the discussion about how markers work, or, you know, if you have questions, there are experts. There's, I don't know, 1,000 or 1,500 people in the group. I think 707 is, this graphic was from a while ago. There's a lot of experts in our group that will answer your questions, or, you know, tweet. You can also volunteer. And what does volunteering look like at mitoYDNA? Well, you could work on tools. You could give us ideas. If you're a programmer, you can come in and help us actually work on the programming on the site. Rob Worthen is our IT tech guy, and you would be working with him, as well as our NASA computer programmer who worked on the space shuttle, Gail French. You would work with him, and Greg Clark, and with Jamie Nelson. You could work on marketing and promotion with our wonderful Michelle, and as well with Leanne. You could work on our administration. You could work on design aspects. There's so many ways that you could help with us besides just offering financial support and clicking on that all-important donate button to donate. Just $1 would be great. And yes, it is completely community supported. All of our team members are volunteers. So just really quickly, why do you want to have a Y and mitochondrial DNA database? Well, you want to make Y-DNA discoveries. And the biggest one that I made was that my family name, Gaulden, was actually Gaulden. And a lot of people don't really think about that when they're doing Y-DNA, is you can absolutely identify a surname for a family, and you can link it to a traditional genealogy to confirm it. Y-DNA can be used to solve family mysteries, non-paternal events, or non-parental events, or however you want to call it these days. You can also use Y-DNA to place yourself on the tree of humanity. And yeah, mitoYDNA is still free to use. For mitochondrial DNA, for myself, using mitochondrial DNA in the identification of the remains of service members, the reason we use mitochondrial DNA is because mitochondrial DNA has a very robust life, and it's oftentimes the only type of DNA that you can get in any sort of identifiable fashion from remains that have been left in highly acidic soils or other things. So in the search for servicemen's families, mitochondrial DNA is absolutely used. In King Richard III, they had to use mitochondrial DNA from his remains to identify his Canadian cousin to actually say that those were Richard III's remains. So yeah, and again, I show you Tsar Nicholas, and we have his remains. And the only way they could identify Tsar Nicholas through mitochondrial DNA was because he had a heteroplasmy too. And if you're wondering what a heteroplasmy is, that means that you have a very fast-changing mutation that just happens quickly, which is what I have and what Tsar Nicholas has. Mitochondrial DNA is also used to place you in the tree of humanity. And mitochondrial DNA is used to solve family mysteries. It solved a family mystery for me. My grandmother was sent away as a child to be raised by people in this supposed home. If you've seen my mitochondrial DNA presentation, that's one of those tearjerker presentations, you'll see that she grew up in this home, and that I accidentally opened that can of worms without knowing what I was doing as a youngster, and come to find out in recent times that the family didn't think that she was actually a part of the family. My cousin told me that her mother was told by my great-grandmother that my grandmother was not her child. I had to prove it, so I got a mitochondrial DNA test, and I have actually proved that my grandmother, the far left over here, who looks very much like her brother Otis here, and her sister Beatrice, this is their other sister, Grace, it proved that my grandmother actually was a part of that family. And like I said, that was my very first test. And yes, being able to solve those kind of mysteries, Y-DNA or mitochondrial DNA mysteries, is still free. It's still free and accessible at mitoYDNA.org. I really appreciate the ability to sit here and talk to you about something I'm quite passionate about, and that is collaborative genealogy and the collaborative work and the free work that we are doing to try and provide this database to the genealogy community. We are growing. We had set a goal of 5,000 kits in our system by a certain date in May, and we blew that away. We are consistently growing. We have never had a month where we didn't have a good amount of people adding to our database, and that database is growing. It is not a significant database yet because we're just over 5,000 kits. I think 5,300 last I saw, but we are getting close to being a significant database. And every time you register and you add a kit, you are making this community-based project better. And also, I really appreciate being able to tell my friends and my fellow Ottawans and anybody else here that's listening about this great passion I have for this nonprofit, mitoYDNA.org. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Do we have questions, Mike?
We've got a few, Mag. Just hang on a second here. I scroll back up.